Okay, so welcome back guys. In this video we'll be discussing about the photoreceptor mechanism. So what is the learning objective? Here the learning objective is that at the end of this video the student should be able to understand the structure of rods, cones and photopigments and also their functions, and then to describe the mechanism of phototransduction and also to understand the importance of photoreceptor potential. So this basically phototransduction and the this questions are basically asked in your long answers. Okay, so remember this, your any of the topics can be asked in your long questions here. The first thing which I'll be discussing here is about the rods and the cones. So this is the normal structure of rod and this is the normal structure of cones. Okay, so this rod is basically this rods are basically responsible for your light, and this cone is basically responsible for your color vision. Okay, so here you can see the plasma membrane. Here this one here you can see basically the plasma membrane of the rods and the plasma membrane of the cones. This whole segment here is the outer segment, and this one is basically the inner segment, and this is the end one here is basically the synaptic terminal, this part. Okay, so we'll be discussing that how this basically functions. And mitochondria can be seen here both in this rods and cones, and of course the nucleus can also be seen here. So these are basically the discs and these are the sacs in the cones. Fine, and this is around 30 nanometers. Find this distance around here. So now we'll be discussing here that how this basically functions and what are the mechanism here in signal transduction. So let us discuss here about the rods here. This the rod cell is so named because it's long, slender and cylindrical in appearance. So these has a lot of molecules of photopigments. These are known as the rhodopsin. Remember this. So this here in this rod cell you have a lot of photopigments that is called as the rhodopsin, and the disc are separated from the cell membrane. So it is a double membrane disc. Okay, fine. Here this have a double membrane disc here. So you need to remember that the upper part of the outer segment here, the old disc are regularly shed and removed by the phagocytosis and the pigment epithelium. Okay, and this renewal is a continuous and a rapid process, that is around 30 discs per day. So the rod cell basically synapse with the rod bipolar cells. So I'll be discussing this, that how this basically synapse with the rod bipolar cells. Then comes the cone cells. Now here these are basically the cone cells. Now these cones have a broad inner segment and a tapered outer segment. So this here, this is basically tapered outer segment, and this gives them a conical appearance. Okay, so the foveal cones are smaller and thinner than the extrafoveal cones. The outer segment here is basically formed by enfolding the cell membrane. Okay, and the membrane invagination looks similar to the rod disc. So you need to remember that the photopigments here, the photopigments are, these are present on these membrane enfoldings. So the renewal process in cones is more diffuse and occurs at multiple sites in its outer segment. So let us discuss about the photopigment here. Here the photopigments, basically the photopigment here is made up of retinine in the rods. Okay, and these are the actual light sensitive components of the photopigments, and opsin, an integral membrane protein here. Fine. So these retinins are basically, these are also called as the retinals, and as they are aldehyde of the vitamin A. So the rod pigment or the rhodopsin, these are the photosensitive pigments in the rods that absorb the light, is called as the rhodopsin or visual purple. It is a G protein coupled serpentine receptor of the light. So we'll be discussing that how this G protein, like how there is a transduction which takes place. Okay, and this is a globular protein with a molecular weight of 41,000, and the rhodopsin molecules are very tightly packed with the density of 30,000 molecules. Fine. So another thing is that it is made up of retinine and an opsin that is called as the scotopsin here. So these are all about the rod pigments, rhodopsin, which we have discussed. Now we'll be discussing about the cone pigments. So the cone pigments here, there are three types of cone pigments which are present on the retina. and the pigments differ in the wavelength of the light that optimally like excites them. So the peak spectral sensitivity of the red sensitive pigment is 560. These are asked in your MCQs. Okay, the red sensitive pigments is 560, the green sensitive pigment is 530, and the blue sensitive pigment is about 420. Fine. So you need to know about this like peak spectral sensitivity, and this each cone cell contains one of the three cone pigments. Accordingly, there are red, green, and blue. So each pigment contains retinine and an opsin, and that has 7 membrane spanning domain like scotopsin, but the structures of the opsin and the way they bind to retinine, this basically differs. Okay, now we'll be discussing that what is phototransduction. So remember that whenever the light strikes the eye, there is hyperpolarization, hyperpolarizing potential that is generated in the rods and cones. Okay, so what is this hyperpolarizing potential? These are known as the photoreceptor potential. So there are many changes which occurs. I'll be discussing this in the diagram. So here there is conversion of the light energy to the neural signal by the visual pigment in the photoreceptors. This is known as the phototransduction. So this light energy here, that will be basically converted to the neural segment by the visual pigments in the photoreceptors. These are known as the phototransduction. So the light introduces a conformational change in the photopigment and the associated G protein that alters the membrane potential by lowering the cyclic GMP level. So I'll be discussing this in this next slide, and what it does here is that the synaptic terminal, these will basically release the neurotransmitter glutamate. Okay, and this will basically lead to your this will signal this and go to the next order neuron. So here I am discussing about like what are the processes which occurs in the dark. Okay, so this is basically your rod cells. Okay, you can see the rod cells. So what happens here is that the sodium channels on the outer segment of the membrane of the photoreceptors, these are basically cyclic GMP dependent. So here you can see the sodium channels. Okay, here you can see the sodium channels. These are basically cyclic GMP dependent. So constitutively active guanyl cyclase, this hydrolyzes the GTP to cyclic GMP, and this increases the concentration of cyclic GMP in the cytoplasm. So the elevated level of the cyclic GMP, this maintains the cyclic GMP gated sodium channels in the open state. This allows the sodium influx. So here there will be increase in the sodium influx. Okay, this will basically allow the sodium influx. So I'll be discussing this on a molecular level in the next slides, that how this basically takes place. Okay, how there is activation of G protein coupled receptors and how beautifully these are taking places. So inside the rod cell here, the sodium will basically flow from the outer segment towards the inner segment along with its concentration gradient of the cytoplasmic sodium concentration in the inner segment, and this is maintained at a lower level of the action of sodium potassium adipase. Fine. So what it does here is that outside the cell, the sodium flows from inner segment to the outer segment along a favorable gradient. Thus, in the outer segment, a continuous inflow of the sodium is maintained, producing a decrease in the membrane potential, and thus this keeps the voltage gated calcium channels open in the synaptic terminal. So once, like here in the synaptic terminal, once the voltage gated calcium channels are open, what it does is that this releases this will release glutamate, and this glutamate basically goes and this excites the cell. Fine. So this photoreceptor cell is depolarized at the rest. Okay, so I'll be discussing this here. This is the most important diagram. What it shows here is that whenever suppose here there is a light, this goes and activates the rhodopsin. Okay, I'll be marking this one by one. Okay, like this light, this goes and this activates the, this is activating rhodopsin. Fine, this is the main crux of today's this slide is the main crux of today's video. So once this is activating this rhodopsin, what will this cause? This will basically cause the activation of the G protein. Okay, G transducing protein. GT is basically the G transducing protein. Once this G transducing protein is activated, the guanyl cyclase will basically convert the GTP to cyclic GMP, fine, and this will basically lead to activation of phosphodiesterase. Once the phosphodiesterase is activated, this will cause 5-GMP. Okay, 5-GMP is activated, and this will lead to the closure of cyclic GMP gated sodium channels. So once like there is a closure of cyclic GMP sodium channels, what will this cause? This will basically like there will be sodium influxes during the night process. That is basically a passive process here. Okay, and this part has been enlarged on the left side, and the mechanisms here are basically shown. So there will be an efflux of the sodium from this side, and there will be sodium influxes during this dark phases, fine, okay, during the dark. And once this will be activated here, this will lead to release in the, like there will be constant release of neurotransmitter during the dark, fine. So this is how your whole rod cells basically functions. Like whenever like there is a light, whenever there is light, this are basically activating here, okay, and once these are activating, then these are basically getting like there is an increase in the sodium potassium ATPases here, like ATPase basically decrease, and the sodium levels are basically pumped out, and the sodium level outside the segment of the photoreceptors here you can see, fine. So this is the flow chart which basically describes, okay, this describes very beautifully here that whenever there is a light, this causes isomerization of 11 cis retinal to all trans retinal. This leads to conformational change in the opsin, forming the meta-rhodopsin 2. Then there is activation of the G protein transducin. Okay, here we have discussed about this. This was your G protein transducin. Here there is an activation of G protein transducin. Fine. Now once the G protein transducin is activated, this leads to activation of phosphodiesterase that converts the cyclic GMP to like 5-GMP. Fine. Now this will lead to decrease in the cytoplasmic level of cyclic GMP. This leads to like closure of the cyclic GMP gated sodium channels. So here you have seen that the cyclic GMP sodium channels, here there was closure of cyclic GMP sodium channels, and once there will be closure of this, there will be decreased influx which causes hyperpolarization. Okay, so the sodium influxes here, this one here which was basically here, this there will be decreased influxes here. Okay, the influxes will be basically decreased, and this will cause the cell to go into hyperpolarization. Remember this term, this is very much important. Sorry, this is very much important in your exams. This hyperpolarization, like decrease in the sodium influx, this basically causes hyperpolarization. The eye doesn't goes into like repolarization or something. It goes into hyperpolarization, and this causes decreased release of synaptic terminals, and hence this will cause like release the response in the bipolar cells. So the neurotransmitters, like here the glutamate are releases. Okay, so the glutamate is basically released once the eye goes into hyperpolarization. Here the synaptic transmitters will basically release the glutamate, and this will basically lead cause the response to the bipolar cells. So the same thing is explained here. There is a release in the the neurotransmitter is released, and this will basically give signal to the bipolar cells. Okay. Okay. So here another, the diagram here I have taken from Ganong. Ganong also explains the same thing. Here it shows that the effect of light on the current flow in the visual receptors. So this is a dark state and there is a light state. Okay, I'll be discussing this just a second. This is like the dark state and this is the light state. Okay, so what it says that in the dark state, the sodium channels in the outer segment are held open by the cyclic GMP, and light leads to increased conversion of like cyclic GMP to 5 GMP and 5-GMP, and this leads to like closure of some of the channels. Okay, so what it says here is that like in the dark state, suppose this is the dark state here, and in the dark state what is happening that this sodium channels here, the sodium channels which you can see the in the outer segment, these are held open by the cyclic GMP. But whenever there is a light, suppose light is here, this is entering here, so what it does that it increases the cyclic GMP to cyclic GMP to 5-GMP levels, and here this will basically close the channels. Okay, I'll be marking here. This will basically close the channels, close the sodium channels. Okay, and this will basically cause what? This will cause hyperpolarization. Okay, once this will cause hyperpolarization, okay, this will basically cause the synaptic terminals. Once that this produces the hyperpolarization of the synaptic terminals, this will basically release the glutamate. Okay, this will release the glutamate, and this will go send the signal to the bipolar cells. Fine. So this is how your phototransduction basically takes place. So the most important thing here is the flowchart. The most important thing here is the diagram. So this diagram has been explained very beautifully in this flowchart. So if suppose a question is asked on phototransduction, then you can draw this diagram and you can draw this flowchart. Okay, you'll be getting full marks. Okay, this is how basically it functions. And what happens during dark? In dark, there is like the influx of the sodium is there, but what happens during the light phase, the sodium channel is basically inhibited here, and the cell goes into hyperpolarization. Okay, this produces hyperpolarization of the synaptic terminal, and this basically releases like your neurotransmitters. So here also the same thing, they have explained the genesis of photoreceptor potential. Like in the rods, what are the things which are occurring? So in the dark, you can see the retinine one in the rhodopsin. This remains in the less stable form, that is known as 11-cis retinal. So whenever the light strikes, it absorbs the photon. Fine, I'll show you the flowchart in the next slide. So what happens that whenever the light strikes, it absorbs the photon and gets isomerized to all trans retinal. So which is more stable form. So this isomerization induces the opsin to undergo a series of rapid conformation changes, and this converts the rhodopsin to metorhodopsin, which in turn activates an associated G protein. Like we have seen the G protein, how it gets activated, G transducin protein, and how this basically takes place. Okay, this transducin, this will basically stimulate the cyclic GMP for phosphodiesterase, and this will convert this all these processes, and hence this will lead to closure of the cyclic GMP sodium channel. Once this produces hyperpolarizing membrane potential as compared to the potential in the dark, this will lead to result in decreased neurotransmitters okay, at the synaptic. So the photoreceptor becomes hyperpolarized on stimulation. Very important. Okay, so here like the release of the synaptic transmitters here, the glutamate was basically decreased. Sorry. So here, once the eye is becoming hyperpolarized, okay, the release of glutamate is basically getting decreased. This is the thing which is basically here they are trying to explain. So the photoreceptor becomes hyperpolarized on stimulation. This is the question which is asked multiple times in your AIIMS, in your NEET exams. Like whenever your eye is becoming like the photoreceptor, whenever like on stimulation, what it occurs? Depolarization, repolarization, hyperpolarization, or different like options. So the answer is like it becomes hyperpolarized. Fine. So the phototransduction pathway gets amplified during the cascade of reactions. This increases the response to several folds. Fine. So here is the restoration of the resting state. So here it shows the changes in the retinine during light and dark. Okay, so you have to draw this flow chart. You have to draw this diagram. So what happens like soon after the isomerization, all transretinal is separated from opsin. Fine. As a result, the reddish color imparted to opsin by the photopigment disappears and the opsin becomes pale yellow. Hence, this process is called as the bleaching. So you need to remember here is that all all transretinal moves to the pigment epithelium, where the enzymes retinal isomerase converts it into 11-cis retinal. The photopigment then gets translocated to the outer segment of the rods to recombine with opsin. So what it does here is that this replenishes the rhodopsin store, and it takes few minutes for one generation of the cycle to complete. So here you can see like here whenever there is a focus, here whenever there is a light here, this will convert this 11-cis retinal in rhodopsin to all transretinal in metarrhodopsin. Fine. This will the separation from the opsin bleaching, this will move into all transretinal. So in the presence of retinal isomerase, this will become 11 cis retinal in pigment epithelium. Okay, and this combines with opsin in the outer segment, and this basically moves into like 11 cis retinal. So these are basically the changes which are taking place in the retinine during light and dark. Fine. So you need to remember this in your biochemistry also. Like this flowchart is important in your physiology also. This flowchart is important. Okay, so the changes which occurs during the light and dark. Okay, so this we have discussed. Now we'll be discussing like what occurs due to vitamin deficiencies. Like here when we are discussing this rhodopsin, everything we are discussing about the rods. So you need to know that if suppose you are having vitamin A deficiency, then what it does is that vitamin A deficiency here, in the view of the importance of vitamin A in the synthesis of retinine, like if suppose you are not taking enough amount of vitamin A, then it causes xerophthalmia, or it is like sorry, not xerophthalmia, like it causes nyctalopia. This causes night blindness. Okay, so what happens here is that night blindness is basically like vitamin A deficiency contributes to blindness by causing the eye to become very dry, and which causes the cornea like xerophthalmia and retina. So night blindness is something like here you can see a normal vision. Fine. Normal vision during the night you can see much brighter things you can see, but in night blindness patient, he won't be able to perceive all these things, all these lights. So a normal eye will during night, like during this dark phase, a normal eye can basically perceive these images, but a dark if suppose the patient is having night blindness, so this is how basically he will perceive these images. Okay, so this was about the night blindness. And what here the thing is important is key, vitamin A first alters the rod functions, and then it becomes like concomitant cone degeneration, which occurs as vitamin A deficiency here basically develops. So this vitamin A deficiency, why it occurs? This occurs due to inadequate food intakes, which means those foods which are not high in vitamin A, that is liver, kidney, whole eggs, milk, cream, cheese, okay, or beta carotene precursor. So you can also treat these vitamin E patients. Suppose someone is having this deficiency, then this can also, and of course this here this vitamin A can also be found in dark leafy vegetables or and oranges or orange fruits and like. So here we have discussed about this vitamin A deficiency we have discussed. Okay, and the most important in our today's class was this flowchart here, the mechanism of phototransduction, that how this basically takes place. And this one here, the flowchart, that this has basically explained the previous diagram, that how this basically takes place, steps of phototransduction, and how like in the dark what happens and in the light what happens. Fine. And then comes this one, changes during light and dark. Okay, how these changes takes place. So here we have completed this phototransduction we have completed. So see you guys in the next videos. Okay, thank you so much guys. Okay.